Good evening, and welcome back to the Let's Talk Destiny Talk Show. I'm your host, Jamie Green, and I'm really honored and blessed to have a very special young lady with me tonight who I've watched from afar, and I'm just always inspired by her resilience and her determination to get it done. Tonight, I have with me sister friend Danielle Moore. She is the owner and operator of Annie Mae's Bakery and Ethel and Annie Mae's Soul Food Kitchen in Brooklyn, New York. She has some other entrepreneur endeavors that we're going to talk about a little later. But one of the things that I admire about her, she not only owns and operates these entities, but she is also the chef extraordinaire, preparing the mouthwatering soul food that stirs the hearts of many in her area, and you can enjoy it locally and nationwide. Later on, we'll get information from her as to how you can experience the delight of her cooking if you're not even in New York. Tonight, I want to talk to her about a number of things. First of all, our theme for the month of November is honoring our treasures, our elders, and our ancestors. And as I was thinking about this theme this month, I thought about Chef Moore because as I watch some of her videos while she's doing her cooking and preparation there in New York, I see that she often takes time with the elders that come past and always makes them feel important. And that really touches me. I don't know if I've ever even said that to her before, but I pay a lot of attention to that. In addition to that, I understand that her businesses were named after and influenced by her elders. And so tonight we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, I'd like to say to you, welcome, welcome, welcome to my humble platform.
Thank you for having me. I feel honored to be here. When I first heard the theme and I was like, what could I possibly contribute? But I think about my journey and previously working as an assistant cook in the senior center and having people in my environment that have elders and they are their caregivers. It just made me like, yeah, I do have some stuff that I need to say about elders in general.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that we will, talk about tonight, I wanted to talk with you about is how the important role that food and cooking together has always played in our culture. And I want you to talk to us about, when you first started cooking, at whose elbows were you standing when you started learning how to cook, and how does preparing food, especially soul food, what does that do for you spiritually, and how do you feel like you are contributing to our community by doing that? So we want to talk about that a little bit later. But I want to ask you, let's start with, how old were you when you first started cooking, and when did you realize that this is something that you would like to do?
I was like 10, 9 to 10. I would, cooking for me was more of a chore back then. My mother just, she made me cook. It was like, I was the oldest of 6. And my mother had 6 children, so I was like forced into the kitchen, so to speak. And because my mom, she cooked and she would sell food. She was like a caterer of sorts, and my grandmother had a baking business, and she would sell, cakes and pies to people in her neighborhood. Cooking was a chore for me. It didn't become important to me until I have completed my first semester of college. I went to college. I wanted to be a veterinary nurse. Absolutely love animals, especially dogs. I love dogs. And my grandmother had already been diagnosed with breast cancer. She was fighting. She was in her her 7th year of fighting, and she lost her battle that year. When I completed my semester, she lost her battle. She not only lost her battle, she passed away 3 days before my birthday. It became very important that I continue her legacy. Her legacy had to be carried on by someone. And because I was her first granddaughter, her first period, and I spent a lot of time with her, I felt compelled to continue her legacy. And I had to take that that cooking was a chore. I had to kill that narrative altogether and go in there and with the duty, I was charged with the job of continuing the family's legacy, because we had our matriarch had passed away. So it's like, what are we gonna do? My mom was in the best of health either, and then after my grandmother passed, 15 months later, my mom died.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like imperative. It was just like a no-brainer. My whole thinking, my mindset switched, and it just became a love for me. When my grandmother passed away, it was right, in October. That's my birthday, and she died during that month. And I, Thanksgiving was like the next month, and I was in a fog. I didn't know, like, Thanksgiving. I'm like, Thanksgiving, like,
right.
Ain't nobody thinking about Thanksgiving. It was my son, it was my kids that prompt me to try to shake some of this off, at least for the day.
Yeah.
So I remember going to a restaurant. I ordered like a rotisserie chicken, like a whole chicken. Like, I was like, all right, I'm gonna cook some, but I ain't gonna cook everything. Because we always had homemade desserts, I said I have to make, our sweet potato pies. I have to make those. And my son was like, well, we should have cheesecake too. And I'm like, yeah, well, and I'm still in this fog. And my son was like, well, he was like, Mom, just make a sweet potato cheesecake. And that was like a light. It went off, and I was like, okay. So I started making them. And at the time I was still working, I would have this little cooler pulling thing on wheels, and I would wheel it to work, and I would sell cheesecakes at work. And then I would go to school at nighttime because I was still finishing that last semester. That's the last semester. I was down to my last class or two, and I just said, and I would take it to school, and I would sell at school, at nighttime, and after work. And after that, I was done. I said, I'm not going back to school. I'm going to continue doing this. I started off doing desserts, and my mom was a big influence on me. What I did, I went to and I asked her everything, like, what should I do? Should I do this? Well, how should I do it? And she was a big influence, and she gave me the tools. They both provided me with the tools that I needed. It was like, and I tell anybody, when my grandmother passed, it was like being on crutches. I talk to them every day. And it was like being on crutches. So now my grandmother's gone. Now I got a cane, because now it's my mother. And she represented that cane. So when my mom passed, I didn't have any crutches. I didn't have a cane. And it was God said, you don't need them to walk. You can walk on your own.
All right.
And I walked, and I began to walk that path, as scary as it was. And I didn't know. I didn't have any know-how. I didn't have any tools. I had the tools that I had were kitchen tools, but as far as running a business, I didn't have a tool. I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning, and that's why I'm a big advocate on helping other business owners, because I already made the mistakes for us all. Absolutely. Why should I let somebody else make those same mistakes? Absolutely. That's where I am. I try to help anybody that has a business. They'll tell you I try my best, because if you're excited about what you're doing, I'm excited too.
Yes.
And the thing about that is the flip side to that is that, so you become more excited about what somebody else is doing than what they're not even excited as you are. So you got to now take your hands off the wheel and be like, all right, now what you gonna do? Because
that's right. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, because some people, they are afraid to go to that next level. You're like, okay, listen, do this, do this, do this, do this, and and then come back to me and let me know how it works. And
Yeah.
they're scared to even do that. So then you're like checking in, like, what happened? They was like, oh, I didn't, they making all kind of excuses. So then I'll be like, listen, that's all right. I'm hands off right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to focus on what I'm doing.
That's right.
But, and I'm a true believer that no matter where you are in your journey, you can always help somebody, whether you're starting out, whether you're in the middle, because
that's right.
Entrepreneurship, there's really no end. It's just, you
Yeah.
just keep going.
That's right. And it's one I remember when you first opened your restaurant, or when you were working to get it open, and some of the challenges you faced to get it open. And I remember there was a big deal about people of our skin color that were in position to help and make things easier, were seemingly like doing all they could do to make it complicated for you not to get this business open. And I didn't talk to you much during that time. I was just watching you, on social media, and I was just praying and praying, because I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, if you have the tools to help somebody. How is it going to hurt you to help somebody? And that's one of the things I constantly see you talking about that draws me to you. And I'll be honest with you, even when I came up with this idea to start this talk show in February, I think it was, I mentioned it to some family members. And then I started saying, well, maybe I shouldn't do it because I don't have this and I don't have that. I don't have this equipment. I don't have certain lighting. I don't have banners, all this stuff that you see. And I kept putting it off and putting it off. And I would watch other people's shows and I'm like, wow, that looks so nice. And my sons and my sister asked me one day, they said, so when you tune in, are you tuning into these shows for banners and lights? Are you tuning in for content of what's being said on the show? So when people come to your show, they're going to come for what you're presenting, the content you're presenting. You can get all that other stuff later, because if you have all the bells and whistles and you're not saying anything that's going to help people, well, they're not going to listen anyway. So when I watched you going through that challenging time of getting the business, and I don't ever once remember hearing you say, just forget it, I'm not going to do it. And I didn't say,
but you ain't hear me say it, but it was behind the scenes. But and it was like being in the middle of the ocean. I done swam this far. I didn't swim this far to go back to where I came from. It's either I'm gonna shut up and swim back to where I came from, or I'm gonna keep going. Even if I'm bitching and moaning, I'm gonna still keep swimming. But I gotta see what's on the other side, because there gotta be something better than where I came from.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's where your faith comes in. And it's not just about, no matter what religion you are, I would tell anybody, just tap into your faith. If it's Allah, if it's, Buddha, if it's whatever it is, tap into it. You have to tap into it, and it'll get you, where you're going. But it were times where I would just be like, I got myself, it's like I felt at some point I was like, I bit off more than I could chew. But I kept saying to myself, you got a big mouth, you could chew this.
That's nice. I like that.
I had to keep going. And it's still, I've been open since June. And it's only been 4 months, but it's still surreal for me. Like, I go and help and put my key in the door, and it's like, this is your place. Like, you could do whatever you want to do. And there were times when I just look around and I'll be like, wow. I even when people, I have family members and friends that talk about it, and they're like, you've been talking about this forever. And it's like, all right, let's not, I don't want to, talk about it, because, I'm still humble, but I'm still like, it's still surreal for me. It's still surreal for me, to the point where I just be like, I look around and I be like, this is really my place. And not only did I have one place, I have two places. So it's like, okay. Yeah. And I'm doing what I'm doing what I love. And I would encourage anybody, just if you love to do something, try to research it and see how you can monetize off of it, how it can make you money, how you can live, the rest of make the rest of your life the best of your life doing what you love.
When
I
you,
know that I fell in love with, like I said, I was doing desserts and stuff, but at some
yeah,
point I fell in love with cooking so deep that I felt like I was cheating on my dessert business. Like, oh my, I felt
yeah,
like somebody was cheating in a relationship, how that kind of feeling. So I was like, you know, and I said to myself, God gave us so many gifts. We could just do all of them that we want.
right.
And when I adapted that mindset, it just opened so many doors of so many things that I do.
That's powerful. So when you are cooking, because I look at your pictures, and one day I pray to God I do get to New York to experience your restaurant. But when I look at the pictures that you post or whatever, you can see that it's not thrown together. It's not just let me just put this out here so these people can eat something and won't be hungry. But it's filled with love and professionalism. What does cooking do for your soul?
Cooking is very therapeutic for me. My grandmother and both my grandmother and my mother had, they said the mantra of no matter what you cook and what you cook with, make sure you add love to everything that you cook. If I don't go into the kitchen when I'm in a bad mood. I don't go in the kitchen when I'm feeling, if I'm not in a positive mood, I can't cook because it's not going to come out right. I've
Wow, that's
experienced
powerful.
that. When you tired, that's not a good time to cook. I have a recipe that I know, and I remember one day I was so tired that I did this recipe 3 times before I said, all right, let me go lay down, because I was tired and I messed it up. Every batch came out messed up. And when I went to go to sleep and when I woke up and I started cooking, every batch after that came out perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
Exactly the same way, but I was tired.
Yeah.
You cannot go into the kitchen tired with bad energy. I don't go. I sage my kitchen. I use sage. I know people be like, I don't care whatever people think and feel about what sage is. Sage is just, whatever sage. I know what sage is for me. I ain't gonna even get into that aspect of it, but I sage my kitchen. I go in there with good energy. I definitely had spoke with somebody recently that advised me to, when I wake up in the morning, to write. That's the first thing I do.
Okay.
I don't look at my phone. I don't do any, I get my notebook and I start writing, and it's called morning writings. And I've been writing. And ever since I've been doing that, I've had more business.
Wow.
Even my mood has been great. I suffer with depression, and I'm gonna tell you something. Ever since I started cooking and being able to put recipes together so I could put it on my menu, I haven't had like a bout of depression, not one bout of
Wow.
depression.
That's awesome.
And that's what it does for me. Everybody has to find a formula
That's right.
that works for them.
That's
Because prior to me opening my restaurant, I would have bouts of depression and I'll tell anybody, it's like walking down a steep hill. And sometimes you stop yourself and you're able to catch yourself.
yeah.
And then sometimes you just got to let yourself
Cannot.
go to the bottom, and you keep rolling and rolling, and you get to the bottom, and you do eventually get to the bottom, and you get up and you dust yourself off, you get all the leaves and the dust and the debris off of you, and you keep it moving.
Yeah.
But this has been very therapeutic for me. Cooking has definitely has given me the strength to fight depression. I promise you.
Wow. And see, this is like exactly what when I connect get a commitment from someone to come on the show, I want to I try to come up with questions or topics that will not just be on the surface, not just be skimming the top and something cute to say, but I really want people to go away after they've watched these conversations with something that will change their lives. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because the 20th of this month, I am doing a panel discussion on depression and suicide. And it is like such an important issue, because I too suffer with depression. I was hospitalized, put on medication, all of that. And you know, the battle thing with the mental health and the faith, and I thought all that, you know, gets taught people about that for years. But I'm like you, I just reached the point where I have to do what works for me, and you do what works for you. But it does impact when you finally find that thing, and everybody's thing is different. But when you find that thing that feeds your soul, I'm telling you, your mental health, physical health, spiritual, everything
It's a
changes.
change. It changes. It's
Wow,
like a whole complete shift. And
absolutely.
it's a complete shift. I would tell anybody that you have to find that thing. You have to you have to find a formula
Yeah,
on how you gonna fight this, how you gonna get through this.
that's right. That's right.
Because it's doable. And I'm not saying for everybody, but there are people, you know, there's a difference between depression and you know, having mental illness, you know. So and I'm speaking on people that suffer with depression. Once you find a formula on how to shake it, you win every battle, every round, every battle, every fight. You are the winner. You are the
Absolutely.
successor. And it works. It works for me. And like I said before this, it was like, okay, I'm slippery slopes. I'm sliding down. I'm like, you know,
Yeah,
I would be okay with not going outside for 2 days, because okay, what's outside is
exactly.
overrated. You know, like
Exactly.
who cares? Like I got everything I need at home.
In the house.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't need to go outside. So it was just like, okay.
Yeah.
But now I am, every day is just like I said, my money between my morning writings,
Yeah.
it's been a shift in my whole mood and my whole outlook on how I see things, how I view things, how I handle things
Yeah.
even.
Yeah.
You know, I'm more patient, I'm a little bit more understanding. And you know, because being a business is challenging. It's very challenging. You dealing with people, especially people with, like, you know, again, people come in, they have mental ill issues. They
Yeah.
come into my establishment, and I've had to chase somebody out
Yeah.
more than once. Like, get out of here, like, you know, because you know that they're not coming to buy anything, but they're just coming for whatever reason. But it's like you could tell they have mental issues. You know, and you can't, like, and one thing I know about working with people with mental issues, you can't show fear,
Yeah.
because then
Yeah.
you
Because
won't
when
make
you,
it
if
out.
you show fear, it's over with.
Yeah, you won't
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah. Wow. I am so glad you brought that up, because yeah, that is perfect for what we're dealing with this month. Honoring our elders, and because I think far too many of this generation has forgotten the shoulders that we're standing on. And I was asking a young person the other day, when is the last time you actually sat with an elder? And I'm not talking about just somebody that's older than you, but someone that has wisdom, um and just listen,
Experience.
and just listen to them talk and learn something. And they were like, for what? Why would I do that? So at that point, I just was not. I like, I'll talk to you later. But it's sad, because it's a whole generation of people that don't.
It's a huge disconnect between elders and the younger generation. It's a huge disconnect for
Huge.
a myriad of reasons. And um working with seniors, I would listen to them, and I would let them, and I would talk.
Yeah.
Even like during the pandemic, because I worked at a senior center, and it was in person, but being that we was working remotely, we were actually calling seniors to make sure they okay. Do they need food? And we would, you know, refer them to the, you know, the food delivery service that would bring meals to their home and stuff like that. So I got to talk to a lot of seniors, and I got to talk to seniors that I knew personally.
Yeah.
So to hear a lot of seniors, just 2 weeks ago, a senior that I know, that I'm connected to still to this day, that I met where I worked, they came in and they saw my restaurant and they were like, "I'm so proud of you. I'm just, I'm proud of you. I'm glad you're doing what you love." And she was one of those seniors that she didn't get the opportunity to do what she loved. She was discouraged from doing what she loved. She wanted to be like a dancer. She wanted to get into dancing. Her family discouraged her and basically told her, "How would you make money from that? And this and that. It's hard to get in that kind of business," and basically discouraged her from living her best life.
Yeah.
She could have been great. We don't know that. She doesn't know that, but to
That's
have
right.
to live with that kind of regret
Yeah.
is was sad to me. It made me sad. I've heard so many stories about seniors. They're so forgotten,
Absolutely.
and listen, they're forgotten for, like, not just because people don't want to be bothered with them. It's like there's a lot of undiagnosed seniors with mental illness. They
Yeah.
never was diagnosed.
That's true.
They were never diagnosed because they were like, "Well, you know how she is, Miss Shirley, so it's, she's like,"
Exactly.
they were just
Exactly.
labeled. They
That's
were
right.
labeled, but never diagnosed, just
Right.
labeled.
That's right.
And it's like, and to see it manifest as they get older, and then how it turns into other things like dementia and
Yeah.
Alzheimer's. All those things have a correlation, and they're all connected.
Absolutely.
I had a boss. He would try to combat that. He would have word games. He would do trivia and puzzles to make
Yeah.
them think and make them, and
Right.
it was stuff that they knew during their era.
Yeah.
Like, Bessie Smith, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
would play Wingman, and they would know, like, Cab Calloway. They knew
Yeah. Yeah.
those people. They were aware of them, but he made them think. It made them,
Right.
like,
That's right. Exercise that brain.
yes, to exercise their brain muscle. It's
Wow.
not just, just coming out. But the sad part about that is that people who do and go above and beyond like that, they are never recognized.
True.
They are never spotlighted. They are never highlighted.
Yeah.
Agencies, all they care about is every person is a number. Every
Right.
person
Right.
is a
Right.
dollar.
Right.
It's
Right.
a dollar for every person.
That's right. You're
And
so
again,
right. You're so right. Because one of the things, I have an organization called A Mother's Cry. And one of the things that we do is for Christmas, we give donations to a local nursing home so that they can make gift baskets for all of the residents there. And the activities director is who I communicate with. And she said, "You'd be surprised how all year long, so many of these people, they don't even get a card. Nobody
a
comes
visit,
by.
a phone call, nothing.
Nothing. Wow."
But
And
let me say this in defense a little bit of some of the family members. You have to be mindful of how you're navigating through in your family dynamic. There are some seniors who are mean and evil and nasty
now
all
that's the
during,
truth. That's the
and
truth.
they've been really, and by the time they got old, they like, "I don't want to be bothered with so and so because how they were so mean and so
Abusive.
what." Yes. So it's like at that point, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
who cares? Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of them have that mindset. But then there's so many seniors that I know that their children will fly through the air to make sure their mama is taken care of, to make sure their dad is taken care of. And to see those stories, I know in my mind that they took care of their family.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They took it and make sure everybody was okay.
Fight it for it.
But I'm gonna tell you this: I live in Brooklyn, New York, and again, I previously worked at a senior center, and those services that they received were free and funded by the state in the city. But when you go further south, those same services they charge seniors for.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like right now in Atlanta, I have a friend, her mother pays almost $700 a month for I said, what? These seniors here, they get that same care.
Wow.
They have the same services, whether it's social services, whatever needs they may have, whatever they arts and craft, they doing this, they doing that, they going on trips, those are free, including the meals.
Not here in Maryland, because I know at one point we were just going around getting information about our mom. She had Alzheimer's, and looking at different facilities, we were just like so afraid that we were not giving her the care she needed because she couldn't tell us what she needed. And then we were finding out that she had health issues that we didn't know about because we don't know like how to read the signs. We didn't know what was going on. But just talking to some of these places, like the amount of money it costs for you to just put them there, forget out, and my father was like, listen, as long as I'm alive, your mother is staying home. And we, as a family, we came together, we made that commitment, and we did what we had to do. But yeah, I know very few states where that stuff is free. I'm surprised to even hear you say that about New York.
Yeah, and a lot of, now I say, and I tell people that, like, because I lived in the South. I lived in North Carolina for a couple of years, like 2 years. I know that that's not a place I want to retire as a senior. Yeah. Because those places, when you go further south, I don't know what it is in the Midwest. I don't know what it is on the West Coast. I know that when you go south, I noticed personally that they don't care about seniors. And everything is a dollar sign, and everything is in New York. There are so many free services that seniors get.
Wow.
They gave, during the pandemic, New York City gave out 10,000 tablets so seniors can get on Zoom. They gave them tablets. You understand what I'm saying? You could say, and I'm not, you can say what you want about New York. When as far as services, as far as healthcare, doctors, they have some of the best doctors here. They have some of the best services for seniors here. They do.
Wow.
And to go south and to hear, mind you, and to know that it's like $690 for her to go a month. And then she only gets a certain amount of money a month. And I was asking her, well, how does she make it? And the one thing I loved about working at a senior center, it made me start thinking about my future even more. Because I always said, I'm not going to be eating cat food when I get a senior center.
I know. Listen, that's right.
I will not be eating cat food. I'll tell you in a minute. I'm going to be on a cruise with my old ass husband, and we're going to be playing shuffleboard. We're going to be at the casino on the boat. We're going to be looking at the shows on the boat. We're going to be eating at the 12 midnight buffet. We're going to be on point right there, getting our little shrimp cocktail. And that's where my mindset is, because I will not allow myself to rely on the government, I have to start thinking about my future. And I'll advise anybody, do not, even though we fed seniors, and there were a lot of seniors who relied on us feeding them. So when the pandemic hit and we was no longer in the facility cooking, and they had put in place like a Meals on Wheels type of deal where they did, and a lot of them were like, the food was horrible.
Yeah.
So
can't believe that.
So it's like, when I get that age up, that's where I'm not gonna put myself in that position.
I hear you.
So, it's and thank God the seniors that I know, their children were sending them Instacart to their door, food to their door, fresh direct to their door. It was just like they were making sure that they were taken care of. But then I was thinking about the ones who don't have that.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Who don't have that? They don't have that. They don't have family. They don't have nobody to look after them, to take care of. It's sad, and that's like one of the forgotten generations. But they have such a wealth of knowledge that we can
Absolutely.
tap into. Again, just because all seniors are not correct, because
Yeah.
a lot of them have that mindset of they're older.
Yeah.
They know everything. You can't challenge them. You can't
That's right.
question
That's
them.
right.
You can't. They still have that mindset. Children should be seen and not heard. Not heard. So I'll change that narrative. Like when I deal with my granddaughter, I
Yeah.
want to know what you have to say. Tell me,
Exactly.
and I don't take it offensively. And people like, oh, why you let her talk? She's not disrespecting me. I don't feel she's disrespecting. She's expressing herself
Yeah.
in a very respectful manner.
And there's a difference. There's a difference.
Yeah, you have to be open-minded. You have to change that narrative, because even now they, you can't talk to the elders like, oh, you can't say, you can't question them. You ask a question, they want to pop you in the mouth. You can't. No, we got to get out of that
Right.
mindset. That state, that's only doing a disservice to us as a people.
How were you? We're supposed to be sharing information, and you impart to me, I impart to you. How can we do that if you don't want me to ask you any questions or challenge anything that I don't understand? Ask for better clarity. That's not being disrespectful. I just don't know what you mean. Like, can you explain that to me? And I'm with you, because I grew up with that. Don't ask me no questions. Don't talk back to me. Don't whatever. And I'm like, so I went through a whole lot of years wondering what in the world is going on here. And so I have 5 grandsons, and one's only 2 years old, so I don't know what he's talking about anyway. But the rest of them, I'm like, ask me whatever you want to ask me, like, because I want to leave here and you be able to say, I was able to talk to my Nana and she told me this. I talked to the boy, they're all boys. So I've talked to them about girls. I've talked to them about their bodies. I've talked to them about whatever they asked me, because I don't want to leave here. And like you say, because I can't talk for a lot of people, but I had grandparents that I could not talk to, that I didn't even want to be around, because I was terrified of them. And I don't want my grandchildren to
Yeah, and I have grandchildren too, so you don't want them to be like, well, I never really knew my grandmother. Like, I've been around her, but I never knew anything about her. I never knew anything about, and it is just like, even with my children, they didn't know certain things about my life that I had to explain it to them and break it down. So they gave them a better understanding of who I am,
right.
Not just as a mother, but as a woman.
As a woman, yes, right.
So we have to start, and this all ties to being an elder, because
right.
you and I are going to be elders one day.
That's
you understand?
Right.
So we're going to be elders, and we're going to have to impart certain information onto the family, and we need to be vocal and verbal and let them know, listen.
That's right. That's right. I totally agree, 100%.
And we have to change that narrative of, and I want kids, I want my grandchildren and children to know that, oh, my mother was this, or my grandmother was that, and she did this, and she did, and I want them to know.
Yeah.
And to know me. I mean, I knew my grandmother. I knew when she was born. I knew the things that she did.
Yeah.
And my grandmother had a rotten childhood. She left this earth sad.
Yeah.
And brokenhearted, by her own mother.
Yeah.
So, I just didn't, and I didn't like my great grandmother because of that.
Right.
Like
right.
my grandmother, the way her mother was to her, my grandmother wasn't like that towards me. So, I had a different experience with my grandmother. So when I used to watch her mother treat her with such, it was like, It was like something like Mommy Dearest 5.0.
Wow.
And it was like, why would you give birth to somebody and then treat them in that manner?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So when I advocate for elders, not all of them are correct.
I understand.
And I say that, and she thinks because she was an elder and she was very proactive in her church,
Yeah.
and she was this and that, and she was just like one way with her church people,
Yeah.
and all this kind of stuff, and she was one way with the family, but she was another way with my grandmother. And I
Daughter.
never forget, I walked into my grandmother's house, and my grandmother had, a landline, of course, but she had a phone in her bedroom, a line in her bedroom, and she had a line in her kitchen. So I would walk in, and and she would be like, pick up the phone, like, and she would tell me to pick up the kitchen extension while she's on the bedroom. And I picked the phone up and I listened to my great grandmother cursing. I never heard this lady curse. She was calling my grandmother everything but the child of God. And I said, don't you ever talk to my grandmother like that. Don't you ever speak to my grandmother in that manner. Don't you ever, if you ever even think of fixing your lips, and you need to change your whole entire mind. I'm telling you, because if I hear you talk to my grandmother like that, it's not going to be pretty. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Do not talk to my grandmother like that. And I said to her, she started like, she went into complete victim mode. Like, oh no, she started crying, fake crying, or whatever the case may be. But what happened was she never told my grandmother that she loved her. My grandmother, that's all my grandmother was seeking throughout her whole life, was for her own mother to say, I love you. My great grandmother had 6 children. All of them passed away except my grandmother, who was her first child.
Wow.
And she was the last one that had to take care of her own mother. So she took care of her. She became sick. She took care of her. I remember, like it was yesterday, picking them up, my great grandmother and my grandmother she was being released from the hospital. And I picked her up and she was cursing my grandmother out. And I stopped the car on the side of the road. I got out. I started, baby, I don't know what I told her, but I was just like, don't talk to my grandmother. I done told you already, don't talk to my grandmother like that. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, see my face. Like, I got in her face like this, like, don't talk to my grandmother like that. Like, I was just this much from headbutting her, like, don't talk to my grandmother like that. This was a woman who taught me my left hand from my right hand. She taught me how to use the bathroom because my mother worked. She taught me how to use the bathroom. I'll never forget.
Yeah.
She taught me how to go to the bathroom. She fed me. She taught me things. And here you are talking to her crazy. No, you're not going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So that generation of, we supposed to respect that. Absolutely, we supposed to respect our elders. But some of these elders,
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
They are out of pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard somebody say one year I was at this church for Mother's Day service. And this preacher was saying, every Mother's Day we get up and y'all hooping and hollering about, no matter what, you should always honor your mother. You should always honor your mother. And he said, let's just be real about it. Some of these mothers don't deserve honor. He was like, if you abuse your children, all they can remember is abuse. Physical, mental, emotional. Then on Mother's Day, you want them to give you a flower? Like, that's crazy. And I know some people disagree with it, but I totally agree with it. Like,
you have the mentality of you only get one mother.
Yeah.
But you gotta, let me tell you something. I don't care if you have 20 children, right? If my mother had 20 children, you only get one, Danielle.
Yeah.
Treat me with the same respect as you would want me to treat you. You only get one, Danielle.
That's right. And yeah, I only get one mother, but sometimes that one I got was like not what I wanted. So,
right.
What are you saying?
Right. You know what I'm saying? So you have to change the narrative. And I think that my grandmother didn't have the at the time when she had her 3 children, she had my mother, my aunt, and my uncle. She was not able to change that narrative of don't be the same way your mother was. Try to change, do something different. She did, but what she did was with her grandchildren, she changed the narrative with us.
Okay.
So I saw that soft side of my grandmother. I got to see that side of, and I just didn't want to be my grandchildren to see the soft side. I want my children to experience and see the soft side of me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's all it's about. It's about these children. They put you on this pedestal. They look at you like you are a superhero. You're their superhero. And you have to be that until they're mentally and emotionally capable of seeing you just as a human and as a mother.
That's right.
And when they begin to see you just as a human, as a mother, that's when you begin to tell your story in bits and pieces. You begin to tell those stories of, when I was a kid, when I was younger, what happened to me. And my children are able to digest that now. But you can't feed them that when they're too young and to understand.
Yeah. That's right. That's why that relationship is so important.
Wow. My son is married with children. I don't interfere in his marriage. I don't tell him what he should do. I ask my son to do certain things for me if he can. If he can't, I'll try to figure it out, try to get somebody, but I don't put that pressure on my son. He's not my man.
Yeah.
He's my son. I know you know how to do this. If you can, let me know. If you can't, I'll try to find somebody to do it.
Gotcha.
But we have to get out of that narrative of when our sons join forces with a woman, we're now looking at that woman. Wouldn't you want a man to take care of you? Wouldn't you want to, doting on you and, loving on you? Wouldn't you want that? So why would you not want your son to be like that with someone?
That's right.
That is not your man.
That's right. That is funny. That is so true.
I don't put that pressure on my son. I just be like, listen. And just today, I had to reiterate that to my son. I said, listen, when I ask you to do something, if you can't do it, don't feel bad about not doing it. You have a whole family that you're trying to take care of. And I get that.
Wow.
But I only ask you because I know you can do these things. I'm not asking you to be the plumber when I know you can't. That's not what I'm doing. But I know my son knows how to do little handy stuff. He knows how to do electrical. Okay, when the electrical stuff come up, I'm definitely gonna tell you, and you can. But I don't put that pressure on my son. That's my son. It's not my man.
And that's the importance of understanding your role, even as you're older. As you get older, you get more wisdom and more insight where you're supposed to. And that's what we project onto our children. Yes, I'm your mom. I will always be a priority in your life, but now you have another family. And I'm not saying you ignore me and pretend I don't exist, but that's your priority over there. And it takes a lot of maturity to understand that, because I see so many, mothers, well, I'm always going to be your number one girl. No, you're not.
Even in the Bible, it says a man will leave
his mother and father and cleave to his wife.
Exactly. But I'm going to tell you something. In my family dynamic, they shun that type of mindset, that dynamic, that a man is going to leave and, like my uncle, my grandmother only had one son, but she didn't, to me, it didn't respect that their dynamic, and it caused a lot of friction and disconnect in the family. Like I'm not, my uncle had 5 sons. I'm not really close to none of them, really, as I should be, but I'm not, because of this is because of all the generational garbage that's been carried on from one generation to and passed down, passed down, passed down. You have to let these men we're not supposed to be coddling these men. You're supposed to allow them to go figure this out, go fend for their family, and go cleave to their wife, whoever that is. And we're not supposed to interfere with that.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of people that do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I don't, I don't. And I think at one time that I was not, that I was like, well, why you can't, but then I had to stop myself, like, this is your son.
Yeah.
He got a whole family.
But I think also, on the other side of that point is because he loves you and respects you, certain things he's not going to want you to have to struggle to do. And
Absolutely.
if he can do it, he's going to want to do it.
Absolutely.
And they get upset if they find out you needed it and you didn't tell them.
Right.
Because they want to be given that option to say, yes,
I'm gonna give you the option. Son, don't you never worry, son. You're gonna get the option first. I promise you. I'm not gonna okay. Oh, so you can't do it? No worries.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. I'm not upset. I'm not mad. Yeah. But this has to be done.
Right. You are so funny.
Yeah, I don't wanna, I'm looking to change the narrative, but I ain't gonna get crazy. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But
I know that's right.
Like, yeah, it's like I wanna leave this earth, and I want to leave my children in a good place. And I want to leave them knowing that they know me.
Exactly.
And they knew me. And they have stories and stuff that I told them that I reminded, and they could tell you, I did this and this and that, right. And this, and they could tell you about me. There are some people that was born from somebody and they don't have no connection. They don't know their story. They don't know anything about them. They know where they was born and stuff. They don't know like how where they was to school and how they had stuff going on in school and who was their friend and who was
did they play sports? Did they do anything?
Right. We have to start sitting down with these elders and be like, and have these conversations.
That's right.
They have to be had. We have to talk about it.
That's right. Because like when they're gone, you'll have a whole bunch of different people saying, I remember this, I remember that. And all the stories be conflicting and don't even like, they have one person have them living in California. No, they were living in Texas. But if you would sit down and talk with that person and record some of this stuff, because after they're gone, that's one of the things that bothers me sometimes when I think about my parents, is that I didn't memorialize a lot of stuff when they were here. And so like, even with pictures and stuff like that, I don't have a lot of pictures. I don't have a lot of,
me either.
And that makes me sad because, I don't know, it just makes me sad. I'm so sorry. Sorry about that. But wow.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of pictures of my mom. I still have my mom's obituary on my refrigerator. I have it sitting, it's been there for years. I don't have a lot of things from my mom, but I have a lot of stories. I have a lot of, even the way my mom interacted with my children, like, we have a lot of those stories. My children can tell a lot of stories. My nephews can tell a lot of stories about the interactions with my mom. growing up, you know, so I don't have a lot of pictures, but I have a lot of stories. And I could tell you, you know, my mom, she was born here, she did this and she did that. I could tell you a lot of things about my mom because she sat and we would talk.
I'm sorry, somebody's at the door.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and we talk. And
Okay. I
we
am so sorry.
no, it's okay. And we, you know, we sat and we talked. So I think that the communication is a big piece that we need to get back to. We need to start having that dialogue and just at Thanksgiving, sitting around talking and not talking about just politics and, you know, stuff that's going on in the media. We need to be talking about our own roots,
Right.
and our own culture and our own
traditions and stuff like that. That's on this stuff. Yeah. That's it. Wow, that is so true. It's so sad because I do remember sitting around the table during the holidays and everybody talking about something special that happened for you that year, and then, you know, sharing. But now it's like you can't even remember the last time we all just sat around a table together and just talked. Or even, you know, with technology, we started out doing like a every Sunday Zoom meeting because we got people.
Yeah, we did too.
And
we
then
did too.
That
every
lasted
Sunday
like a month, maybe 2 months, and now we don't even do that. And it's like, and then when somebody passes, then you like got to dig up all this information. Whereas if we had sat and talked and shared with each other, we would have it. Wow. I'd say you have really given me a lot to think about tonight. And I am so glad that I invited you for this conversation, and I'm more glad that you agreed to it. I want to also talk about, I want you to give your contact information because there are people there in New York that I would like to really come out and support you. But I also know that your items can be bought online. So I want you to give us that contact information, and then I'm going to also type it in once I upload the video. And do you still have the t-shirts and all of that as well?
Yeah, I still have some of the, now I have hoodies. I am doing a whole homeware line. Like you know, it's happening as we speak. It's like I've been sourcing things and doing things and working with people that are helping me get this line off the ground, because you know it's because during the pandemic we were all in. It was just like we have to now go to making our home a home and making it cozy.
Yeah.
And I actually started, you know, researching and doing and getting into, you know, launching all these different products about being home. And I'm actually going to be doing a photo shoot soon, and I'll be launching some products, a lot of different products. But my website is BK, B as in boy, K as in king, Chef Danielle.com. That's where all my homeware stuff is, and you know, t-shirts and the hoodies and stuff. Those are all that stuff is there. I'm just basically, because I'm the age that I am, I'm 53. I'm like, okay, so I just want to be cozy. You know, I want to be, you know,
right.
And you know, my line is called Cozy as Fuck. AF, Cozy AF by BK Chef Danielle. And it's about just being cozy. It also it's about being authentically me, myself.
Yeah, yeah.
It's about this is who I am, take it or leave it. And that's just what it is. And it's like, you don't have to be outside all the time. You could be, if we gonna be inside, just be.
Let's be comfortable. Let's be happy. Let's have peace. Yeah, I love it.
So it's like, you know, it's curtains and duvet covers with the pillows, and we have pillow covers. I'm launching in about a week and a half to 2 weeks. My candles, I already have them. The labels, I have the labels. I'm gonna launch, candles, and I'm gonna launch some other products that you're gonna see during this photo shoot. You're gonna be like, what?
Wow, awesome. Wow, I'm proud of you.
Growing up, my mom had 6 kids, like I told you. She would take us all on dates. Each kid got to go on a date with my mom. Not, once a month, we would all get to go on a date. And my mom one year took me to B. Smith's restaurant. So,
Wow.
B. Smith was, as we know, she was a restaurateur.
Yeah.
She had a talk show. She had a homeware line. And, B. Smith didn't have any children. And I'm about legacy. Even continuing a legacy that's not mine, even though she don't have anybody to continue her legacy.
I got
So
you.
I want to continue her legacy of Black people can do like Martha Stewart. We could do that.
That's right. That's right.
Shit, we've been doing that. You just don't know, but we've been doing that. But it's just that continuing legacies it doesn't necessarily mean your own legacy.
That's true. It's our cultural legacy.
It's you understand what I'm saying? So it's like, and it is, even though I'm looking to make money, but it's not so much as the money aspect of it, because the money's gonna come. I'm a true believer that the money will come, but I'm a believer in continuing her legacy because she had no one to continue her legacy. She was an elder.
Yeah.
She had dementia that she passed away from, and she did not have not one child to continue her legacy at all.
Wow.
So it bothered me when I would see, there were people talking about, like her husband had moved on before she even died. He had a girlfriend, which I thought was appalling to me. That's just me.
Yeah.
But my thing was, but who's continuing her
legacy? That's right. That's right.
Who's continuing her legacy?
Wow.
She started something absolutely wonderful that can be replicated, that can be done in my own way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Honor her. It's about honoring our elders. Right. She paved the way. If it wasn't for her, I remember her when I was at her restaurant, she came out the kitchen and she would greet guests as they were sitting, and her beautiful smile. I'll never forget as a kid seeing her beautiful smile, and it was just like, wow. Not knowing full circle how that was going to come back to me, because I wasn't interested in the kitchen back then. I'm like, that was a chore for me. Yeah. My mom had her own like catering. I would help cut potatoes and all. That was a chore for me. Yeah. That's why I was like, nah, I'm gonna be a veterinary nurse. F y'all. I don't want nothing to do with nothing. But when my grandmother passed, my mother was sick. Okay, so what you gonna do? Yeah. You have to continue this legacy. I had to fall in love with cooking in the kitchen.
I love that. I love that.
I fell in love with it, and the journey has been nothing but amazing and therapeutic since then. And along the way, I saw the need to continue somebody else's legacy in the process, and it can be done. I'm not taking away from my grandmother. I'm not taking away from my mother. I'm actually letting people know that if you admire somebody and you love what they did and you trying to do what they did, honor them.
Honor them.
By doing what they did, but doing it better. We only want better for our people. Yes. Trust me, I know she wants me to do this and do it better. Because that's what the ancestors want. They want better for us.
Want better.
At least most of them. You know what I'm saying? So we ain't gonna talk about them other ones. But you know what I'm saying. So
I know what you're saying.
We have to get back to that. That's why I would get on the phone. I set my calendar. I talk to the elders. I would call one elder this day and let them just talk. Even if it's what I already heard before, just let them talk.
Let them talk. That's right.
And you be surprised at what you would learn from elders.
Absolutely. Wow. That's what it's all about. And that's what was in my spirit when I first came up with this theme, because I was like trying to think of what I wanted to do for each month for the rest of the year. And when I got to November, everybody was, of course, talking about Thanksgiving so, and whatever, but that wasn't like in my spirit. I'm like, and then it hit me all of a sudden, like, honor your elders and your ancestors. Like, we've got
Who you
to
think
pay.
taught you how to make the pies? It's the elders.
That's right.
Who taught you how long you need to keep that turkey in the oven? It's the elders.
That's right.
Who told you what meat you need to add to the collard greens or not? The
Right.
elders.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's still honoring them.
That's right. Wow.
And you have, but again, what saddens me is the disconnect. They don't want to talk. In my restaurant, I have a table outside. I sit in chairs outside, and there's a group of teenagers that would come and sit out there. They would sit there, and it was 2 chairs in the table, and then one day they was scrapping. They was trying to not physically. They were fighting, not fighting, but fighting over a chair. And I said, listen, go in the restaurant, go inside the best of you area. It's another chair. Bring it outside and let them sit there. And I was working, but I could hear them talking.
Yeah.
And they were interacting with one another, but they became very belligerent and disrespectful. And it was the conversation they were having was sexual, was disrespectful towards one another.
Yeah.
And I had to intervene as an elder.
As an elder.
You get what I'm saying?
That's right.
And I said to them, if you're gonna sit here, you can't talk like that.
Yeah.
I'm letting you sit here. And it's okay. Because if you're sitting here, that means you're not being nowhere else. Possibly somebody calling the cops on y'all because y'all somewhere. You here. It's okay. You sitting here, I don't mind. You can't be talking about D and P and all. Yeah. You can't. No.
As that elder strength you
can't talk like that here.
Yeah, I love it.
And not only that, I have to tell them there's a, my granddaughter was there. I had picked her up from school. I said, listen, there's a kid inside here. Y'all need to be mindful that there's another kid in here that's hearing all of this. And y'all can't talk like that here. And y'all should not be talking like that here. I don't want you ever to get comfortable talking like that in front of me. Ever.
That's right.
They would talk. I was just like, stuff that I didn't talk like that until I was an adult. Like, I was just like, what?
Yeah.
So no.
But they needed that. But they needed that, that, hey, stop it. Listen, pay attention to what I'm saying. Because I find that a lot of times that I know out here where I live is like straight like hood. And I've walked outside and there would be maybe 4 or 5 known gang members standing in a crowd or whatever. And I just walk right towards them because I'm trying to get where I'm going. Y'all in my way. And I walk up there and they'll be like, excuse us, ma'am, or how you doing, ma'am? Or, I've never had any disrespect or anything. And when I told other people about it, like, oh my God, you're crazy. They could have did this, they could have did, but they didn't.
No, they wouldn't have. They know who to do that to and who not to do that to.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? They know. And if they don't know, it's up to you to let them know.
That's right. That's right. And I said, how y'all doing? Y'all being here yourself?
If you did
and out of trouble. Yeah. And they like,
if somebody from the neighborhood saw you doing something, what they would do? To go and tell your mama. They would pull you by your ear and be like, no, you can't go. You can't do that.
That's right.
So
they need to know you care enough to say, no, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told them, listen, you can sit here any day of the week, all day. I have no problem with you sitting here. You can't talk like that. If you're gonna talk like that, you cannot sit here.
I'm glad you did that. And they'll never forget, they will never forget that somebody cared enough to stop them in the tracks and say, stop it.
Yeah, and then the boy that got the chair, he leaning all back. I said, yo, where you think you at, school? This ain't no school chair. This is my chair for my business. Don't break my chair. So then they're like, and then, but the beautiful thing is when they see me, hi, miss. They don't know my name, but hi, miss. Okay, hi.
Right. You got that respect.
Because if something was happening to any one of them, I will pull them in and be like, all right, call your parent, let them come get you.
Yeah. Wow. And they know that.
We got to get back to that.
Right.
Because there's a disconnect somewhere, and I don't know.
Yeah.
But
somebody's got to make the effort to bridge that gap. You can't all just sit on our side and say they don't want me, they don't pay attention, and you on that side saying, well, they don't like me. Somebody got to say, listen, let's talk about this. What is going on?
Yeah. We have the and I'm really all for it, like bridging that gap and letting them know, listen, it's okay, because there are children out here who do not have safe spaces at home.
That's right.
And you would never know that. But when they are out in the environments and they outside, and we as elders see them in danger, it's up to us to protect them. We have to. We have to protect them. We have to intervene.
Sure.
I'm not scared of them. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not. There were plenty of people that are scared, like how you say you walk through them.
Yeah.
They give you the utmost respect because you're treating them like humans. But you're also letting them know, I'm the elder, you're the younger. Don't try me.
Don't try me. Well, I'm gonna get ready to let you go. I'm like, the phone is ringing off the hook. People knocking on the door. My goodness gracious. But I absolutely enjoyed this conversation. I learned a lot. You really fed my spirit and reminding me why I do some of the things that I do. Because sometimes you do feel like, what is the point of this? Like, is anybody hearing what I'm saying? Is anybody paying attention? So yeah, I'm glad we had this conversation, and we will definitely talk again. I'm glad you didn't say, well, I don't know how I can give anything that help this team, so I'm not doing it. I'm glad you did it, because you really did give a lot to, and you're the first person.
I appreciate it, because at first I didn't think that, I didn't know, but you know, when I thought about it, it was like, yeah, I do know, you know, I do have it, because you know, I can speak on it from different perspectives, so many different perspectives, because I know one day I am going to be an elder.
Right.
What do I want that to look like? What do you want that to look like? You need to start figuring out, what do you want that to look like? How do you want people to, when you become an elder, how do you want them to deal with you? Do you want to be that closed off elder that nobody can ask you anything, or you want to be that elder that they can ask you anything?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm glad we had this conversation, and we're definitely going to be talking again soon. I'm going to put your information, as I said, your contact information, because I really want to support you, and figure out how I can connect with you, even to advertise more, because I want to support my sisters that I see doing things like, and they have that passion for our people. So I'm gonna meditate on it and come up with a way that I can connect with you to help push your business a little more.
Okay.
And, yeah, we're gonna do this thing together. And I just want you to know that I am super proud of you. And
thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Okay, we will talk again soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Good night.
Good night.